thin folder, her spine straight despite the faint tremor running through her shoulders. She had learned long ago that stillness could be a kind of armor. If you did not draw attention to yourself, the world was less likely to notice how hard you were working just to keep standing. Brightwave looked like any other firm on the surface. Glass walls, minimalist desks, motivational quotes printed in neutral fonts and framed like quiet promises. People talked about brands and campaigns and demographics as if words alone could shape reality. But Victoria had always felt that something about this place hummed under the surface, like a wire pulled too tight, like a smile that stayed a second too long. She had been here 3 years, long nights, quiet mornings, coffee strong enough to make her hands shake. She had started as an intern no one remembered, the girl who stayed late to fix other people's mistakes without being asked. She learned quickly, not just the work but the rules that were never written, who spoke, who stayed silent, who survived. Today felt different. The meeting notice had gone out the night before, short and unusually formal. Mandatory attendance. No agenda. Conference room A10 sharp. When Victoria walked in that morning, the air already felt heavy, as if the room itself was holding its breath. People whispered instead of talking. I heard he shut down an entire office in Portland in one afternoon. Someone murmured near the window. That's nothing, another voice replied. My cousin works in finance, says he's connected, not just business connected, other kinds. Victoria kept her eyes on the table, pretending to review notes she already knew by heart. She was not the kind of person who thrived on rumors, but she listened. Listening had kept her fed more than once in her life. The name passed through the room carefully, like something sharp. Julian Croissant. No one said it loudly. It was always a breath lower, a glance over the shoulder, a pause afterward, as if saying it too clearly might summon something unwanted. Officially, he was the new creative director, hired to restructure, hired to fix what was broken, hired to make hard decisions. But the fear in the room did not match a job title. Victoria felt it in her chest, a tightness she could not explain. The same instinct she had felt as a child when adults argued in the next room and voices dropped instead of rising. Danger did not always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it arrived quietly, politely, wearing the right clothes. She glanced around. People sat straighter than usual. Smiles looked rehearsed. Even Thomas, who never stopped talking, had gone quiet, tapping his pen against the table like a nervous habit he could not shake. Victoria thought of her mother's voice from years ago. Keep your head down. Do your work. Don't be noticed unless you're ready to be seen. She was not sure she was ready. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 9:56. Each second landed like a footstep. She tried to focus on what she could control. Her breathing, the feel of the folder under her fingers. The discipline she had built piece by piece after life taught her that no one was coming to save her. And yet, there was a sensation she could not name, as if something irreversible was moving toward this room. Not just change, not just a new boss, something heavier, something that would not be undone once it arrived. 9:58. A chair scraped softly as someone shifted. No one laughed, no one joked. Victoria realized then that fear had a smell. Faint, metallic, like rain before a storm hits the ground. Why, she wondered, does everyone look like they are waiting for a verdict? Why does a man hired to direct ideas feel like someone who decides fates? The door remained closed. Julian Croissant had not even entered yet. And already, the room belonged to him. The man no one looked at directly. The door opened without drama, without sound loud enough to announce itself, and yet the room changed instantly. Conversation died not slowly, but completely, as if someone had pulled the air out of the space. Victoria felt it before she saw him, a shift in pressure, a heaviness that settled over her shoulders and pressed her spine straighter. Julian Croissant stepped inside. He did not rush, he did not pause, he moved with the kind of calm that came from knowing nothing in the room could challenge him. He wore dark clothing, simple, expensive, without being flashy, and it was not fashion that made people uneasy, it was certainty. His eyes moved across the room, once not lingering, not judging, simply taking inventory. People lowered their gazes without being told. Victoria noticed that before anything else. Grown men who argued loudly in meetings now stared at their hands. Women who usually smiled too much fixed their posture and went still. No one whispered anymore. Julian stopped near the head of the table, and only then did Catherine move behind him, careful, respectful, almost deferential. This was not how executives stood behind new hires. This was how someone stood behind power. Julian spoke, and his voice was quiet, but it carried effortlessly. "Good morning." 2 words, and yet they landed heavier than a speech. Victoria felt her heartbeat slow, not from comfort, but from instinct, the kind that told you to pay attention. His gaze moved again, this time slower, and when it reached her, it paused. Not long enough to be obvious. Long enough to be intentional. Victoria did not know why her fingers curled tighter around her folder, or why a strange awareness spread through her chest like a warning bell. She had been invisible most of her life. She had learned how to exist without being seen. But in that moment, she knew with absolute certainty that she had been noticed. Julian asked for introductions, and his tone was polite, almost warm, and that somehow made it worse. Because warmth from a man like this felt like a choice, not a default. One by one people spoke, stumbling through rehearsed versions of themselves. Julian listened without interruption. Without nodding. Without reassurance. When someone tried to impress him, he simply waited. Silence doing the work, his expression did not. Victoria watched him closely. The way his hands rested, relaxed, but ready. The way he remembered names after hearing them once. The way he did not need to assert authority because it already lived in him. This was not a man who climbed. This was a man who arrived. As he moved closer to her seat, Victoria felt the same unease she used to feel as a child when adults spoke in lowered voices. Nothing had happened. Yet everything felt like it was about to. She thought of the rumors again. That he ran things that never appeared on paper. That he decided outcomes without meetings. That his influence extended beyond offices and contracts. She did not believe in myths easily. But fear like this did not come from imagination alone. Julian stopped beside her chair. And in that stillness, Victoria understood something without knowing how she knew it. This man did not need to raise his voice. Did not need to threaten. Did not need to explain himself. Power surrounded him, the way gravity surrounded the earth, unseen, unavoidable. Her name had not been spoken yet, but something in her chest tightened as if her body already knew. Whatever happened next would matter. And the strangest part was not the fear. It was the quiet certainty that this moment would follow her for the rest of her life. Julian Crossano stopped moving. Not fully, not yet. Just enough for the room to feel the pause. His eyes settled on Victoria. And this time, they did not move away. "You," he said calmly. "What is your name?" The question was simple, but it landed like weight. Victoria felt heat rush to her face. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. "Victoria Hayes," she said finally. Her voice steady, only because she forced it to be. And then the world betrayed her. The chair beneath her shifted. A small movement at first. Barely noticeable. A warning she did not understand in time. Then it snapped. The sound was sharp, violent, wrong. Metal grinding against metal. Wood cracking under pressure. Victoria felt the floor drop away. Her balance vanished. Her body pitched backward, then forward. Time slowed in the cruelest way. She saw her folder fly from her hands. Papers lifting into the air. Numbers, diagrams, notes scattering like exposed thoughts. She heard someone gasp. Someone laugh. Someone say, "Oh my God." Her arms flailed. Her foot caught nothing. And then she fell. Hard. Her knees hit first. Then her hands. Then the rest of her body followed. She landed at Julian Croissano's feet. For half a second there was silence, and then laughter. Not everyone, but enough. Nervous laughter. Shocked laughter. Relieved laughter. The kind people used when humiliation did not belong to them. Victoria stayed where she was, cheek pressed against the cold floor, heart hammering so loud it drowned out everything else. Her skirt had shifted. Her hair had come loose. Her hands trembled. This was it. This was the moment people remembered. This was the story that would follow her. The girl who fell. The girl who could not even sit in a chair. She squeezed her eyes shut. If she did not look, maybe she could disappear. Laughter rippled again, then stopped abruptly. The room went dead quiet. Not slowly. Not awkwardly. Instantly. Victoria did not know why yet, but she felt the chain. The air turned sharp. Heavy. Dangerous. She opened her eyes. Julian Croissano had raised his hand. Not high. Not dramatically. Just enough. His face was unreadable. His jaw tight. His eyes dark. The laughter had died because no one dared continue. He looked down at her, and something in his expression shifted. Not anger. Not disgust. Focus. He knelt. The movement was deliberate. Controlled. Intimate in a way that made the room hold its breath. "Are you hurt?" he asked. His voice was low. Steady. Dangerously calm. Victoria swallowed. Her throat burned. "No," she whispered, just embarrassed. For a moment, he did not respond. Then he did something no one expected. He reached for her papers. Not roughly. Not hurried. He gathered them carefully, shielding them with his body, as if protecting something fragile. His eyes scanned the pages quickly. Too quickly. Something flickered there. Recognition. Interest. Calculation. Victoria did not see it, but everyone else saw the way his posture changed, the way his attention sharpened. Julian extended his hand toward her. "Take it," his eyes said, even before his voice followed. "Come," he said. She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His grip was firm, grounding, unshakable. He lifted her to her feet with ease, as if she weighed nothing at all. And for one suspended moment, Victoria stood inches from him, the room silent, her humiliation exposed, his presence overwhelming. No one laughed anymore. No one breathed. Because something had shifted. The fall was over. And whatever came next felt far more dangerous than embarrassment. No one spoke. Not because they were told not to, but because something inside the room had changed its shape. Victoria stood frozen, her hand still warm from where Julian had released it. Her heart raced not from the fall anymore, but from the way the air pressed against her skin. Julian Croissano straightened slowly, the movement unhurried, measured. Every eye followed him. The laughter that had filled the room seconds ago felt like a mistake now. A dangerous one. Julian did not raise his voice, did not scold, did not threaten. He simply looked around, and the silence deepened. His gaze moved from face to face, lingering just long enough to be remembered. Victoria felt it again, that instinctive warning. The kind that told you this was a man who did not forget, did not forgive easily, and did not need to explain why. He turned back to her. "You should not apologize," he said. The words were soft, but they carried authority. The chair failed. "Not you." Victoria blinked, unsure she had heard him correctly. Around them, people shifted uncomfortably. Someone cleared their throat, then thought better of it. Julian took a step closer to the broken chair, examined it briefly, then looked up. Who approved furniture maintenance? He asked. Catherine stiffened behind him. We will handle it immediately, she said quickly. Julian nodded once. See that you do. Then he did something that sent a quiet shock through the room. He turned his back on everyone else and focused entirely on Victoria. Are you able to stand? He asked. She nodded, still dazed. Good, he said. Then stay. Not a request. Not a suggestion. A decision. Victoria felt every eye in the room shift to her. Felt the weight of attention she had spent years avoiding. Julian bent again, this time to lift the broken chair, setting it aside with deliberate care. We do not allow broken things where people are expected to perform, he said calmly. The words landed heavier than they should have. People exchanged glances, some uncomfortable, some fearful, because no one believed he was still talking about furniture. Julian straightened, then gestured toward an empty seat at the table. Take that one, he said to Victoria. She obeyed without thinking. As she sat, the room slowly exhaled. But the tension did not leave. It only changed. Julian resumed the meeting as if nothing unusual had happened. Yet everything had. He spoke about expectations, about discipline, about standards. His voice never rose, never rushed, and still every word cut clean. Victoria listened, but barely processed the content. Her body still hummed from the fall, from the way he had shielded her papers, from the way he had silenced the room without effort. She realized something then, something cold and clear. The laughter had not stopped because she had fallen. It had stopped because Julian Crossano had decided it should. And if he could end a room with a glance, what else could he end? The meeting continued, but no one was fully present anymore. They were watching him, measuring him, fearing him. And Victoria, she was wondering why. Out of everyone in that room, he had chosen to kneel first and speak last. Whatever she had fallen into was not finished with her yet. The meeting moved on, but it moved around Victoria, not through her. She sat still, hands folded, eyes forward, breathing slow, the way she had taught herself during hard moments. Yet she felt him. Julian Crossano did not look at her again. Not openly. But she knew. The way a person knows when they are being measured without being touched. The papers he had gathered rested on the table beside him. Aligned perfectly. Edges neat. Intentional. Victoria told herself they were just notes. Ideas. Late-night thoughts turned into diagrams. Nothing dangerous. But she noticed how Julian did not let anyone else touch them. Did not slide them across the table. Did not set them aside casually. When someone leaned too close, his hand shifted slightly. Blocking. Guarding. The meeting ended. Chairs scraped back. Voices returned in low, careful tones. People avoided looking at her now, as if embarrassment were contagious. Victoria rose slowly, hoping to disappear into the crowd. You, Julian said. One word. No volume. No force. And yet she stopped immediately. Come with me, he said. Not now. Not later. Nah. The room emptied faster than it had filled. Catherine paused near the door, watching with unreadable eyes. Victoria followed Julian into the corridor, her pulse loud in her ears. His office was quiet. Glass walls. Controlled light. No personal clutter. He placed her papers on the desk, spread them carefully. Then he studied them. Really studied them. Not like a manager scanning work, but like a man reading a map he already understood. Victoria watched his face change in small ways. a tightening around the eyes, a stillness in his jaw. You created this? He asked. Yes, she said. When? Over months. She answered. Why? He asked. She hesitated, then told the truth. I saw patterns no one else did. I wanted to fix them. Julian was silent. His fingers traced lines on the page. Roots. Blocks. Circles. Flows. Victoria had thought of them as strategy. Efficiency. Creative structure. Julian saw something else entirely. These are not marketing diagrams, he said quietly. Her breath caught. What do you mean? She asked. He looked at her then. Really looked. You did not know, he said. It was not an accusation. It was an assessment. Victoria shook her head, fear finally finding a shape. Julian straightened. These lines mirror movement patterns. Logistics timing access points. He said. You mapped them instinctively. Her stomach dropped. I just followed data. She whispered. Julian nodded. Exactly. He turned the papers face down. What you did without knowing. Others would kill for. Victoria felt cold. Not from the room. From the realization. People laughed when you fell. He continued. But no one laughed when I picked these up. Because they knew. Something mattered. He leaned closer. Lowered his voice. Listen to me carefully. From this moment on, you do nothing alone. You speak to no one about these. You do not share drafts. You do not explain your thinking. Do you understand? Yes, she said. Good. Because you did not just fall today. You stepped into something that was already moving. And now, Julian Crossano said, it knows your name. Victoria did not sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the sound of metal snapping, the feel of the floor against her knees, the weight of Julian Crossano's gaze as he read her work. Something had changed. Not around her. Inside her. By morning, her fear had sharpened into focus. Fear was useless without direction. She had learned that early in life. She arrived at the office before sunrise. The building quiet. Lights dim. The city outside still wrapped in mist. His message came at 8:15. Come to my office now. No greeting. No explanation. Her legs felt steady as she walked. That surprised her. Julian was standing when she entered. Sleeves rolled back. Hands resting on the desk. Like he had been waiting for her alone. Sit, he said. She did. He studied her for a long moment. Not unkindly. Not impatiently. You are not afraid, he said. Victoria swallowed. I am, she answered. But I can still think. That earned the smallest shift in his expression. Approval, maybe. Good, he said. Fear without discipline gets people killed. The word landed heavy. Killed. He walked around the desk slowly. Deliberately. As if testing the room. Tell me about your past, he said. Not where you studied. Not what is on your file. The real parts. Victoria hesitated. Then spoke. I grew up moving, she said. Never stayed long enough to feel safe. You learn patterns when nothing is stable. You learn how to read rooms. How to disappear. How to survive. Julian stopped walking. Survival creates intelligence, he said. He turned to face her. You did not design those maps to impress. You did it to understand. To control uncertainty. Yes, she whispered. He nodded once. That is why I am speaking to you privately. Julian leaned forward. His voice lowered. You are inside something bigger than you realize. This company, this structure, it is not what it appears to be. She waited, heart pounding. I will not lie to you. He continued. But I will not force you either. There are things happening around you. Things you did not consent to. Things that could harm you. He paused. I am offering you protection. Her breath caught. What does that mean? She asked. It means you answer to me directly. He said. It means your work is filtered through me. Your exposure controlled. Your name shielded. And if I say leave, you leave. No questions. Why? She asked quietly. Because you are valuable. He replied. Not just intelligent. Not just useful. You are clean. The word stunned her. You think clearly. You do not lie well. You do not hunger for power. Those people survive the longest. He said. Victoria met his gaze. And if I say no? Julian did not hesitate. Then I erase your work. I transfer you. I make sure no one remembers your name. Not as punishment. He added. As mercy. The room felt very still. She thought of the laughter. The silence. The way he had knelt. She understood then. This was not a threat. It was a choice. I stay, she said. Julian exhaled slowly. Then listen carefully. From this moment forward, you do nothing without my knowledge. You trust your instincts. And you trust me. He stepped closer. And Victoria, do not ever fall again without me there to catch you. She nodded. And in that moment, she knew. The worst part of the fall was over. What came next would be far more dangerous. Victoria sensed it before there was proof. The feeling followed her down hallways. Lingered when she left the building. Pressed against her back like unseen eyes. Nothing obvious happened. No threats. No messages. No voices calling her name. That was what made it worse. The office felt different after Julian spoke to her. Not kinder. Not harsher. More aware. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Smiles arrived a moment too late. People watched her hands her screen her silence. She told herself it was paranoia. That fear was looking for patterns where none existed. But fear had taught her to survive. And survival rarely lied. 2 days after the meeting, she noticed the same man twice. First in the lobby, pretending to check his phone. Then across the street, near the coffee shop. Hood-up face angled away. She did not panic. Panic made mistakes. Instead, she walked back inside. Took the long route. Used reflections to confirm what she already knew. Someone was watching her. Julian noticed before she told him. He appeared beside her desk without sound. His presence immediate grounding. You're being followed. He said quietly. Yes. She answered. Good. He replied. Good. She repeated, confused. Because now I know who is looking. That night, 3 shipping routes changed without explanation. 2 contractors vanished from internal lists. A meeting in Tacoma never happened. Victoria did not see any of it. But she felt the effects. The tension eased. The air shifted again. Julian spoke to her later in his office. Lights loader closed. They noticed your work. He said. Who? She asked. People who look for value. And weakness. Did I do something wrong? She asked. No. He said. You existed. That is often enough. He explained carefully. Without names. Without details. Rival interests had seen the fall. Seen his reaction. Understood what it meant. Attention is currency. He told her. And you were just priced. Victoria felt cold. Am I in danger? She asked. Julian met her gaze. Not while I am breathing. The words were not romantic. They were factual. Over the next week, protection became invisible but constant. Her routes home changed. Her schedule shifted without announcement. People she had never met opened doors before she reached them. Julian never explained. He never needed to. She began to understand the language of power. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind that moved pieces without being seen. Then Thomas made his mistake. He asked too many questions. Stood too close to her screen. Laughed when she flinched. Julian watched from across the room. Eyes unreadable. That evening, Thomas did not come in the next day. No email. No goodbye. No explanation. His desk was cleared by noon. Victoria did not ask. She knew better now. Fear no longer owned her. It sharpened her. She understood the truth. Her fall had not exposed weakness. It had exposed worth. And somewhere beyond glass walls and polite smiles, people who traded in shadows had learned her name. The game had begun. And Julian Crasson had already decided how it would end. Julian chose the hour carefully. After sunset. Before exhaustion. When the building was empty enough to hear the truth. Victoria followed him without being told. Down a hallway she had never used. Past a door that required more access than she knew existed. Inside the room the lights were low. The windows black mirrors, reflecting only themselves. This is where decisions are made. Julian said quietly. Victoria did not sit. She stood with her arms, folded not defensive, but ready. Tell me, she said. Julian watched her for a long moment, as if weighing whether she would break or bend. This company is a shell, he said. A clean one, built to look ordinary, to keep attention where it does not belong. Victoria felt the last illusion fall away. The money moves through here, he continued. But the power does not live here. It lives where people are afraid to speak. He stepped closer. You mapped operations without knowing. You saw flows where others saw noise. That is why they noticed you. That is why you became visible. Victoria breathed slowly. Why me? She asked. Because you do not want control, Julian said. And that makes you dangerous. He told her everything he could, without saying names. Without drawing lines too clearly. About families. About territory. About the cost of mistakes. About loyalty being currency. And silence being survival. You have a choice, he said finally. Victoria lifted her chin. Say it. You can walk away, he said. Tonight, I will make sure you're safe, comfortable, forgotten. Or, he paused. You can stay informed, not involved, not trapped, aware. Aware means power, he said. And power always comes with risk. Victoria thought of her childhood, of never knowing where she would sleep, of watching adults lie to survive. I have lived with risk my whole life, she said. Julian studied her. The difference is now. Risk will notice you back. She nodded. I choose to stay. Julian exhaled slowly. Then you need to know one more thing. He stepped aside, revealing a screen on the wall. Security footage played. The meeting. The chair. The fall. Victoria stiffened. Watch, Julian said. The footage slowed. The bolt beneath the chair. Already loose. Twisted. Tampered with. Her breath left her lungs. It was not an accident. She whispered. No, Julian said. It was a test. Someone wanted to see who I would protect. Someone wanted to see what you were worth. Victoria turned to him. You knew. Yes. And you let it happen. Julian did not flinch. Because stopping it would have hidden the traitor. And letting it happen saved you. The room felt unreal. The humiliation. The laughter. The silence. All of it had been deliberate. They thought they were exposing you. Julian said. But they exposed themselves. Victoria felt anger rise. Then something colder. What happens now? She asked. Nah. Julian said. We remove what thought it could touch you. He stepped closer. His voice lowered. And now you understand something most people never do. Sometimes falling is not failure. It is bait. Victoria met his gaze. Fear no longer lived there. Only clarity. Then finish it, she said. Julian nodded once. And for the first time since the chair broke, Victoria knew exactly where she stood. Nothing about their closeness was loud. There were no sudden confessions. No reckless moments. No lines crossed in public. What grew between Victoria and Julian grew in silence. In restraint. In decisions made carefully and honored completely. After the truth was revealed, Julian changed the rules. Not for her. For everyone. Meetings no longer happened without structure. Access was layered. Information traveled only where it was meant to. And Victoria, she was no longer placed at the center. She was placed above it. People noticed the shift immediately. Not favoritism. Not romance. Authority. When Victoria spoke, people listened. When she paused, the room followed. She never raised her voice. Never demanded. She simply understood. Julian watched from a distance. Never interrupting. Never rescuing. Never stepping in unless invited. This was his rule. Your power must stand without me. He told her. And it did. Resentment simmered quietly. Envy sharpened eyes. Whispers returned, but they were different now. Not mocking. Not amused. Cautious. Some believed she was dangerous. Others believed she was protected. Both were correct. Their private moments were rare. And intentional. Late evenings in secure rooms. Quiet conversations over untouched coffee. Julian never touched her without asking. Never assumed. This is not weakness. He told her once. This is control. And control made her feel safe. When he looked at her now, it was not possession. It was recognition. You belong here. His eyes said. But only because you chose it. One night she challenged him. You hold back, she said. Julian did not deny it. Because the moment I do not. I take something from you. She stepped closer. What if I am not fragile? His gaze darkened. I know you're not, he said. That is exactly why I am careful. The first time they touched. It was slow. Measured. A decision made without urgency. His hand rested at her waist. Not claiming. Not testing. Waiting. She leaned into him. Not because she was afraid, but because she trusted. Their kiss was not fire. It was gravity. Inevitable. Steady. Anchoring. Afterward, he rested his forehead against hers. If this ever costs you your voice, he said, we end it. If this ever blurs your power, we stop. She nodded. And if it ever makes you cruel, she added, I walk away. Julian smiled then. Not the dangerous one. The real one. That night changed nothing publicly. And everything privately. They were not reckless lovers. They were aligned. Two people who understood that love inside power structures only survives when it is disciplined. When enemies moved again, they moved together. When threats surfaced, they analyzed, not panicked. Julian no longer shielded her from the world. He trusted her to read it. And Victoria no longer feared the shadows. She understood them. Love did not soften Julian. It focused him. And love did not weaken Victoria. It sharpened her. They did not fall into romance. They built it. Quietly. Deliberately. Under rules that kept them both standing. Because the most dangerous love is not the one that explodes. It is the one that endures. Without asking permission, Victoria thought she understood what had happened. The chair. The laughter. The silence. The protection. She thought she had reached the end of the story. She was wrong. It came weeks later. Quietly. The way the most dangerous truths always do. She was alone in the secure room reviewing footage. Something Julian had taught her to do. Not because he asked, but because she needed to know. Patterns mattered. Details mattered. She rewound the recording of the meeting again. Slower this time. The chair. The bolt. The angle. Her breath caught. The tampering had not been rushed. Not sloppy. It had been careful. Someone had known exactly how much pressure it would take. Exactly when it would fail. This was not a warning. It was a message. Julian stood in the doorway when she turned. He had known she would find it. He always did. "You see it now?" He said. "Yes." She replied. But this time her voice did not shake. "It was never about testing me," she said. Julian was silent. "It was about testing you." He did not deny it. "They wanted to know if you would protect a nobody." She continued. "If you would expose yourself for someone insignificant." Julian walked closer. "And I did." "You did more than that," Victoria said. "You chose." The room felt heavy with truth. "I let it happen," Julian said quietly. "Because stopping it would have hidden them. Because letting you fall showed me who laughed. Who watched. Who waited." Victoria closed her eyes. "My humiliation was bait." "Yes." "And my protection was the signal." Julian nodded. "They thought I would stay distant. Cold. Calculating. They did not expect me to kneel. They did not expect me to gather your papers. To shield you. To stop the room." Victoria felt something inside her settle. "All this time," she said, "I thought I was being protected." "You were," Julian replied. "But not because you were weak." He met her gaze. "Because you were worth revealing myself for." The truth was sharp. Clean. Final. The fall had not ruined her. It had marked her. It had separated enemies from allies. Cowards from loyalists. It had saved her life. And cost others theirs. Julian took her hands. Steady. Warm. "If I had known you would carry this so well," he said, "I might have told you sooner." She squeezed his fingers. "No," she said. "I needed to fall first." He smiled then. Slow. Real. From that day forward, there were no secrets between them. The chair was replaced. The traitors were gone. The structure tightened. And Victoria, she no longer avoided attention. She commanded it. People remembered the fall, but they remembered the silence after more. The moment laughter died, and fear chose a side. Years later, when the story was told, it was never about embarrassment. It was about the moment a woman fell, and a man with absolute power chose to kneel. Because sometimes destiny does not arrive gently. Sometimes it breaks the chair beneath you, throws you to the floor, and waits to see who stands up with you and who laughs. Victoria Hayes had fallen at the feet of a mafia boss. And in that fall,